So hello, Selina, and thank you very much for joining me today. For all of you watching, this is Selina Karlsson, and she deals with entrepreneurs. She helps them with their procrastination. If you're anything like me, this is something you deal with all the time to different degrees. So I'm very happy we're talking to Selina about this today. But I've invited Selina to talk to us because she got my attention. Selina has been doing a 100-day blogging challenge, and she has decided to blog every day for 100 days. Now, of course, that's extremely interesting to myself because I deal with blogging all the time, and I'm really interested, Selina, in understanding, why you decided to do it and how it's getting along.
Yeah, so it's going really well. I'm on day 86 and I will be finished before Christmas, so I'm quite excited about that. How I got started was a while ago. I had a session with you, Fiteni, and it was really interesting for me to kind of think about the content for the blogs, to think about the awareness, the consideration, the decision kind of making involved in that. I really hadn't thought about this before, so it was really a good insight for me. And then I had a whole long list of blog ideas about procrastination. And then I wanted to get myself and my business known a bit more. And I've always had a lot of blog ideas floating around in my head. And I just thought this would be a good way to get myself into the habit of blogging. In the past, with my old business, I had tried to blog before, but I was very inconsistent. I managed maybe a handful of blogs, whereas I actually really wanted to blog very regularly. So this was a good way for me to go, okay, let's do this regularly. That's how I got started.
Wow, that's very interesting because when I started blogging, I also started blogging every day. And it really did work for me. Of course, at the time I was working in my agency. I have an agency with my husband, which is still working. And, at the time we were just shifting to doing content, and I just sold the first account, and I dived right in, started blogging every day. And I think that is it's quite a big step in terms of habit building. Like you said, I've come to the stage now where I have to wake up on a Monday morning and have nothing to blog about. I'm not sure how I would feel. It's like something would be missing,
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I thought it would be harder, but actually I realized it's easier for me to blog daily than to do it maybe 2 times a week. And I noticed that because I follow a lady called Gretchen Rubin, and came up with something about moderators or abstainers. And moderators are people who do things in moderation, and abstainers, it's easier for us to do everything or nothing. And I'm an abstainer, I'm an all or nothing. So if you give me a chocolate bar, I'll eat the whole thing, or it's easier for me not to eat it. So similar to this exercise, it was easier for me to go all in rather than just try to drip feed it.
That's really interesting. I'm a big fan of Gretchen Rubin. All those, I think it was in 2014, I had read her book, My Happiness Project. And I think that was the spur that pushed me to actually do B-School and start on this online journey. So I really love Gretchen. I owe her a lot. But I hadn't heard of this thing of moderators and abstainers. I'm definitely an abstainer as well. I can see that that's the way I spend, so I'm very careful with the way I manage my money. Well, I didn't know. I will definitely look into that. So does she have a book about that?
No, she doesn't. It's part of her Better Than Before book. So after the Happiness Project, she had Better Than Before, and then she worked on the 4 tendencies. And I work a lot with the 4 tendencies with my clients. And the 4 tendencies is how you do things and what you need to support yourself. Are you familiar with the 4 tendencies?
I'm not. I haven't read the book yet. I'm just familiar with the book title. It's just on my wish list so far. So yeah, I'd love to hear more about it.
It is really great. I use this a lot in my business because it really depends on what type of person you are and what you need to set up for you to get things done. Mm-hmm. So the 4 tendencies, just very quickly, are the first one is an upholder, somebody who meets internal and external expectations. The second is a questioner, somebody who meets internal expectations. So it has to make sense for them. If it makes sense for them, they'll do it. The third is an obliger. They meet external expectations, but not internal. So for them, if they have a deadline from somebody, they'll do it. If they're accountable to someone, they'll do it. Otherwise, they may not do it. And finally, there's a rebel who neither meets internal nor external expectations. And for them, they have to choose whether they want to do it. It has to be fun, and they have to see the consequences. And so the first one, the upholder, it's people who say they're going to do a New Year's resolution, they'll do it. If somebody gives them a deadline, they'll do it. So the upholder does both sides. I'm an obliger, so that means I meet external expectations. And for me, having the external accountability is so important. So I think the 100-day blogging exercise has worked really well for me because I publicly told people that I was doing it. So if I miss a day, I would feel really bad.
Of course, because, there's people out there waiting, and they do notice, I think I'm an obliger like you as well. I need to read the book to confirm that.
Yeah, no, it's great. Better Than Before is the book that introduces all these concepts, and then she went a little bit further into the 4 tendencies.
Excellent. And is there a test you can do, or is it just a checklist?
The 4 tendencies, there's a test. And it just helped me understand so much. For example, my husband's a questioner, so I'm an obliger, so we work in different ways. So for example, in the past, I've asked him to do something for me, but I didn't realize that it didn't make sense for him, so he didn't do it, whereas I was expecting him to do it. So by understanding how people tick, it helps a lot, because sometimes when I'm talking to people and they'll say, it makes sense. If they're a questioner, I can pretty much stop talking because it's clicked. The penny has dropped for them. It makes sense for them. They don't need me to explain any further. It's really
very excited. I like this.
I love it. I really love it. It's helped me so much.
Oh gosh, this is amazing. I really must read this book. And it's amazing that you find ways of applying it with your clients as well.
Yeah, because then you know what the client needs. As in, I know what I need to know what the client needs, and once we have that, then we can start structuring the environment appropriately.
Wow, amazing. So how has it gone so far in terms of the blog?
Really good. I must say I'm enjoying it. I'm really enjoying it. It was probably hardest at the beginning because I had a lot of ideas and I was able to almost batch them all up. So I batched a lot. I had a lot going. And then around I think it was around day 18 or something, I was thinking, okay, I've run out of my batched ideas. Now what do I do? And it's funny because lately I've been writing the blog either the night before or the morning of the day. And I feel quite relaxed about it. I feel quite okay. I don't stress over, I'm not going to find a topic. I just kind of pick something that comes to mind, or something that happened to me in the last few days, or something that I think, that's really interesting, and then I just write about it. So I put a lot less pressure on myself. There was only maybe 1 or 2 days where I was thinking, I don't know what to write. But it passed quite quickly.
I can understand that. I meet a lot of people who have that worry. If I commit to blogging daily or weekly, will I come up with enough ideas? How am I going to keep writing? And it's amazing because it always gets easier. Always, it's creativity is a bit like a muscle. The more you work it, the more you can switch it on more easily. And then writing can really become a pleasure, even if you find it hard.
Yeah, I agree with you totally. And it's become faster. It's become much faster. I'm much quicker at writing because I've given myself a few criteria, shall I say, to make it easier for myself. So, for example, I've set 240 word limit, and that's been really good for me. It's a very short piece, So I really have to have one message, maximum 2 messages in one blog post because it's such a short piece. And that's been fantastic for me. I've become much quicker. I'm much quicker at picking the photo. In the past, when I was blogging before, it would have taken me ages to find the perfect photo. And now I'm like, I go through and I go, yeah, that'll do. And just push it. Because I realize it doesn't have to be perfect.
Indeed. And especially, you know, with online marketing, when you're doing content, whether you're doing it for social media or creating a blog and then repurposing all these different things, you have to drop the perfectionism, because you cannot have speed and perfectionism. Like you said, you get faster, and that's when you push the quality up. You know, with a lot of my clients, they'll be so concerned about keeping up, you know, these 8 posts a month or these 4 posts a month. And I say, you know, think in time. Give yourself, I don't know, the amount of time you can afford and the amount of time you're willing to invest. And then just have a 3-month or a 6-month goal to speed up and achieve the kind of frequency that you're looking for. Because, you know, it's not realistic to allocate 8 hours a week if you know that you can only keep it up until your next launch, and then you're not going to manage it anymore. So it's one of those things. But yes, it's important that people believe and understand that they do get faster. Everybody does.
Much, much faster. And I think you gave me a really good technique when we met each other. You gave me a tip that said, have a list of potential blog posts. So if I think of something that I'm not ready to write about yet, I'll add it to my list. So if I'm ever stuck, I just go and I kind of scan through the list and go, oh yeah, I can write about this. And that's really helped me, because I know there's a list of topics somewhere that I can have as backup.
Indeed. In fact, I always tell my clients that unless they're launching, they don't need to fix the date of that particular blog post. So, you know, if we've written down, I don't know, 30 or 60 blog post names, they don't have to schedule it exactly. They know that there's going to be one going out every week, and it's going to be repurposed into 3 or 4 pieces of content. But they don't necessarily need to fix it in time, because they know they're going to cover all the topics over 6 or 12 months. But I think that makes such a big difference to creativity, because a lot of people sit down and cannot write because they have decided they're going to write about that specific topic on that particular day. And that really kills your creativity. If you're just not thinking about that naturally, it's so hard to make yourself write well about it, you know? So yeah, that's a great approach.
I really appreciated that tip from you. Because you said to me, just go with your gut or your intuition, and that's typically what I do.
Indeed, it's like you know, sometimes a little trick I use. You know, when I know that, for instance, I'm doing a launch and I'm going to plan 3 or 4 lives about a particular topic, you know, then you have to kind of trick yourself into, you know, being in the mindset of writing about that particular topic, of talking about that particular topic. So what I do is I will actually listen to audiobooks or read books during those 3 to 4 weeks. I will just stick to the topic I'm going to be talking about, or the topic I'm going to be writing about. And then, you know, it's like my subconscious has been working when I'm not listening. And it's like almost eager to put all that information down. So when I sit down, I kind of feel drawn into those particular topics. So, you know, that can work as well.
That's great. Now, I've done that before a little bit as well. When I go running, I sometimes listen to podcasts, and it's true. Then I get an idea for the blog.
Yes, indeed. It's crazy because, you know, the brain first absorbs, and then, you know, you get eager once you've kind of merged it with what you do and how you feel about the ideas. It's like then you become eager to talk about it. That's great. So, Selina, I know that a lot of the people watching have a problem with procrastination. So it was really great to hear how you have tackled the blogging side, but I'm pretty sure there are quite a few people watching us that, you know, have procrastination issues when it comes to, blogging or creating podcasts or maybe even going live.
Yeah. Sure.
Is there anything you can help us with, mindset or tools?
Absolutely. So I work with a lot of people who have procrastination issues, and people procrastinate on all sorts of different topics, and you've just named a few of them. One thing that I would probably summarize with a few things you said would be visibility, putting yourself out there. And often people are afraid to put themselves out there because perhaps as a child or as a younger adult, some sort of experience has left them with an emotion that they weren't comfortable with. Mm-hmm. So for example, if let's say as a child, you wanted to go on stage and sing, and your mum said to you, oh, but you can't sing, then you might think, oh, I can't put myself out there because I can't sing. I can't put myself out there. So it's this belief you've had as a child that you shouldn't put yourself out there. And so therefore, when you actually, as an entrepreneur, you're trying to put yourself out there, your subconscious is saying, no, don't go there. Let's not get embarrassed. I don't want you to feel rejected. I'm just protecting you. So when you understand that your subconscious is protecting you for a reason, it normally you can start talking to it a little bit more and start saying, okay, what is the real fear? What am I scared of? What's the worst that can happen? So there's a few kind of things that you can work out what is the real fear. Because I know a lot of people who go, oh, I can't do a Facebook Live. In some ways, I'm a big fan of a multiple action plan. So tackle it in all different areas. So tackle it on the mindset level, try to work out where it's coming from, what the actual fear is, if you could nail it down, and then think about, oh, where does that come from? Why do I feel this way? And sometimes you may be able to access it yourself. You'll know that it comes from an instance when you were 12, or an instance when you were 2, whatever. Sometimes you may need help. I would recommend working with somebody, either a hypnotherapist or somebody who works with the subconscious mind. There are many different ways that you can do this to help you access it and let it go, because as an adult you don't need to run on these old beliefs anymore, and these old beliefs were there to protect you at a young age, but as an adult you have more capacity, you know what you're doing, you can choose your beliefs and thoughts. The other thing is, like we talked about the 4 tendencies, once you know what you need, then you can create your environment to suit that. So as an obliger, I know that I need accountability. If I have accountability, I'm more likely to get things done. So if, let's say, you're a questioner, then it has to make sense for you. If it makes sense for you, you'll do it. So figure out what you are, and then you can tailor the environment to suit you. I use a lot of different productivity, time management techniques. And we were talking about it earlier. This morning, my blog post was about the Pomodoro technique. Mm-hmm. So I love this because yesterday I spent the whole day doing Pomodoro and I felt so productive. And for those, the people that don't know, the Pomodoro is a technique where you set a timer for 25 minutes, mm-hmm. where you concentrate on the task alone and nothing else. And once you've done that, you have 5 minutes break and you can do whatever you want. And then you go back to 25 minutes of solid work and 5 minutes break, and you repeat that for as long as you want to go. And I find it wonderful because it gets me started, even for tasks that I'm putting off. So for example, my accounts or things that I'm really not that keen on doing. I know I have to do, I'm not keen on doing it. And so by saying, okay, I'm just going to do it for 25 minutes, it's a huge hurdle that you kind of come across. Mm-hmm. So a few different things I would say. I'd say look at your mindset, look at your environment, and understand yourself better. Once you understand yourself, you'll know how to create your environment and what works for you.
Create a successful environment for yourself. Yeah. Well, I love the Pomodoro technique. And in fact, like you said, though, I do use it for administrative tasks. Obviously, writing, usually I like to have bigger chunks. And sometimes the tools, you can't get yourself off the tools when the tech's not working. So, but it really, really is very effective. I'm always amazed at how relaxed, I think, at the end of the day when I've used the Pomodoro technique.
Yeah,
It's
me
just
too. I think it's because I'm less distracted. I'm not flipping between, I'm not multitasking. You know, they say it takes a lot of time for your brain to engage into something you've switched into and switch back and switched into. So I think what I like about it is because it's really quite focused. You only do that task for 25 minutes. So you get quite a lot done typically.
Indeed. Well, I have one last question for you, Selina, because we're beginning to run out of time. From the way you were talking before, I think the tips you gave are excellent. But when you were explaining the motivation, you mentioned fear a lot as the reason behind the mindset. Is it always fear?
Is it always fear? Oh, good question. It tends to be fear a lot because your subconscious is there to protect you. It's very rarely out to harm you. It's really more to protect you. It wants to keep you safe. If you think of us as evolutionary animals, we've survived this long because we've been kept safe. So it makes sense for us to be kept safe so we don't go and do something crazy and kill ourselves. Otherwise we won't be able to produce and go forward or survive for another day. So I can understand why the subconscious is there. I use an image quite a lot, and it's like a woman, and imagine your subconscious as a superwoman. So if your woman wants to move forward and your subconscious goes, no, then it's this superwoman kind of holding you back so you don't get very far. Whereas if you can align your beliefs with what you want, then your superwoman is pushing you, and then you can kind of go off at a much quicker space. So I would say it's not necessarily fear, it's just protecting you. And if you can align your beliefs together with your subconscious with what you want, then things just go much easier, more smoothly. And yeah, sometimes you wonder, okay, well, what was I panicking about? What was I scared of before?
Indeed. Wow. Wow, that's amazing. I mean, I know how effective it is. I've worked with Selina before myself. Yes, it was the first time I was hypnotized, and I was amazed at how safe you can feel while you're being hypnotized. That was an amazing experience. So I really encourage you, if you have a problem with procrastination, to get in touch with Selina. You'll be able to visit my blog and find this video, and also links to Selina's website and Selina's services, and of course her 100 blog posts. And you can, of course, you're not going to stop after the 100 days, so you can keep following Selina's blogs even after that. And yes, we will also add links to the book you mentioned. So everything that you've heard of in this video, you'll be able to find in the blog post. Thank you very much, Selina. Thank you so much for giving all this amazing information. I'm sure it's going to be really, really useful to people who are generating content out there. Before we leave, I would like to ask you just to leave us with one thing. If somebody is experiencing procrastination, or maybe you sit there and you're not sure what the next step is, could you just leave us with the first step to take when you have that feeling? What is the first thing we need to do?
That's a good question. The first step, okay, it would be to sit quietly with yourself and ask yourself what's really going on. What am I scared of? Because when you can identify that, you've got somewhere to start. And I think we all know this. We've heard it a million times. We have the answers within us, and we really do. It's just that we don't always listen to ourselves. But if you could just sit quietly and go, what am I really scared of?
Excellent. Wow. So the first thing you need to do, like Selina said, is ask yourself. And if you have problems coming to the bottom of this, Selina will always be there to help. So thank you very much for being with us, Selina. And if you have questions for me or for Selina, you can pop them under this video, or just go to the blog and send us an email. and we will see you next week in the next video.
Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you
Thank
very
you,
much.
Selina. Thank you. Bye-bye.